Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Janice Kupfer. I'm the head of marketing for Omnilert. First, I want to thank you all for joining us for this webinar today. We appreciate you being here. We are holding webinars fairly periodically, and so if you would like to join us again, we'll be holding one in October. We post announcements about all of our webinars on our social media sites, and so please like and follow us there so that you can keep up to date on what we're doing and so that we can stay in touch with you as well. The agenda for today is fairly simple. We'll be covering Omnilert and its suite of products. And we'll start off the presentation with a little bit about Omnilert's history and how they started in the industry. The highlight of the presentation will be a live demonstration of Gun Detect. We have Nathan Gavis with us today. He is a national account manager with Omnilert. And with 9 years of industry experience, Nathan is an absolute expert on preventative safety measures. And so thank you, Nathan, for helping us out today with this presentation. We will conclude the webinar with a question and answer session. All of you who are in attendance will be muted during the presentation. And so if you do have questions, please enter them into the chat box at the bottom of your screen. We'll be sure to get all the questions answered. We expect the presentation will take about 30 minutes. And so with that, I will turn it over to Nathan and say thank you all for joining us.
All right, thank you, Janice, and thank you everybody for joining. So we'll go ahead and start out with a little bit about Omnilert's origin story. So most of us remember the Virginia Tech tragedy, that the terrible mass shooting that took place in 2008. It was this event that spurred the introduction of many mass notification platforms. So founded in 2004, Omnilert actually predates the Virginia Tech incident, and it was inspired by the adoption of the Clery Act. Omnilert was developed as a means for schools to disseminate safety messages and other mass communications to their students and faculty. And in the words of our founders, every individual deserves the right to be safe on campus. Sorry, just bear with me a minute here. All right, so over its 18-year history, Omnilert has produced numerous innovations to the space and is considered a market leader. Omnilert continues to invest in unique capabilities that ease administrative burdens, remove barriers to people engagement, and focus on prevention, intelligence, and helpful automations. Omnilert was the first to introduce multimodal mass communication, including text for higher education. We were the first to integrate with social media. We introduced TTY capabilities to ensure notifications reach the hearing impaired. Pre-planned scenarios came into play in 2013, followed by the one-tab launcher for the Apple Watch. And as you'll hear later, we're very proud of the introduction of AI-driven visual gun detection in 2020. Millions of users and thousands of organizations of all sizes and verticals trust Omnilert to keep them and their people safe. While our roots are in education, we quickly branched out into other areas and are now servicing some of the largest companies in the world. XERO Now is a consortium of organizations that was formed to increase the pace and scale of funding in campus safety, technology innovation, standards, and awareness designed to bring about real change now. Omnilert is committed to this cause and proud to be a founding member of XERO Now, and is joined by other prestigious organizations, including Telos Corporation, Access Communications, and IACLEA. So the Omnilert Prevention Suite comes in 3 main tiers, ranging from simple and fast notifications, two-way mass engagement, to full automation and integration. Each tier builds on the previous. Notify gets you multimodal alerting with an easy and fast to use interface. Engage gets you, helps you capture your people's locations and status and allow your small team to manage targeted alerting to those in greatest need. manage adds predefined scenarios so that you can activate your response instantly and integrate with outside systems like a security system, among other things. The prevention suite, tying everything together, Omnilert has built an end-to-end solution to manage notifications and communications during crisis events. The platform is cloud-based, it's secure, it's easy to maintain, and Omnilert uses industry standards, so there are many integration possibilities, but we do have formal integrations with companies like Genetec, Eagle Eye Networks, CloudView, Vizix, and more. And Omnilert can also send to a wide variety of end user platforms, including desktops and smartphones. Omnilert is not just a texting system. You're able to use text, voice, email, of course, but also digital signs, PA systems, smart apps, smartphone apps, posted websites, social media, all these things at the tap of a button from anywhere. The company is named Omnilert for a reason, the vast number of channels and endpoints that the system utilizes. So when you send an alert, you're not just sending an alert, you're sending an Omnilert. So mass engagement. Omnilert Engage is our solution to two-way messaging at scale. Let's take a step back for a moment. Omnilert notification systems, or emergency notification systems in general, are very good at communicating effectively in a one-to-many paradigm, one interface to many hundreds or thousands of subscribers. Where that paradigm breaks down is when you try to solicit feedback from those subscribers. It usually, or it always turns into many one-on-one conversations. And in a crisis, no one has the time to sift through hundreds or thousands of replies and decide what to do with them. Omnilert solves this problem with a feature we call mass engagement. Omnilert Engage allows you to send your message and include a question and predefined answers to your subscribers, where users' responses are quickly displayed and placed into dynamically created response groups. This triage messaging provides actionable intelligence: who has responded, who hasn't, their self-reported status, and their location. And it allows you to communicate more effectively by targeting your emergency messaging based on these factors to provide more detailed instructions to your community based on their immediate needs. Scenarios allow you to set up your alerting actions well ahead of time so you can truly put your response plan in motion instantly. For example, an alert to all your people, getting them to safety, another message activating your response team, another activating alarm or digital sign, desktop alerts. Many things can happen at the click of a button. The subscriber app enables a few capabilities: weather alerts, a panic button, tipping so people can report incidents, polling or check-in, kind of what we mentioned with the Engage features. And it actually comes in two versions. There's the native app that you can install and maintain on your phone, and there's also the instant app. Both offer identical capabilities. They simply reach their user in different ways. So app adoption has always been a big challenge. Studies say that less than 10% of app users actually download the app. So the Instant app allows people to use the app capabilities without having to install and maintain an app. They simply receive an alert, tap the message, and then they have access to the full app experience. Desktop Alert extends smartphone app capability to the desktop computer. End users can receive alerts and respond just like the app. Have access to tipping and other information. And so you know their status and their situation no matter where they are. And of course, standard screen takeover is also possible. So let's switch gears a little bit here. Today, we're all paying an enormous economic cost as well as an unmeasurable human cost for our failure to prevent gun violence. According to the FBI, the majority of active shootings are over in 5 minutes, and nearly 37% are over within 2 minutes. With that in mind, we believe we can help prevent tragedy with an early warning, potentially shaving valuable minutes off your response time. Omnilert Gun Detect is a preventive platform that combines AI gun detection with emergency management. It's the only solution to natively combine visual gun detection with crisis management. Visual gun detection works with industry standard IP cameras, providing you an opportunity to respond and get people to safety before shots are fired. When seconds count, detecting a threat is one thing, but being able to instantly respond gives you a real chance to prevent loss of life. The AI monitors your cameras 24/7, instantly detects somebody brandishing a gun, and alerts you within seconds. This priority alert will go to whoever you designate, your response team or security. You can configure that. Then you have the opportunity to immediately respond using Omnilert scenarios. Again, instantly putting your response plan in motion. Omnilert Gun Detect is installed on-premise with standard PC hardware and GPU. So as soon as it's sitting on your network, it will start monitoring your camera streams. As soon as it detects somebody brandishing a gun, that's when it brings a person into the loop. It will send you an alert, wherever you designate to get that alert. Then they can make the judgment call from there on how to respond. Once it's in the app, they can respond outside and do other things to keep people safe, or they can activate an Omnilert scenario and, as I mentioned before, instantly put their action plan in motion. Or they can just ignore it if it's something that is not a threat, but they can make that judgment immediately from there. So now I'd like to do a live demo of Gun Detect. It's going to be a pretty simple demo. Back out of here. So what we have here is my modest home office. And what I'm going to do is walk out of the room. I will walk in, I'll brandish a gun. You'll see the AI detect the gun and kind of track it. On my phone, you'll see an alert. And from there, I'll be able to show you what you can do with that alert. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the alert. You saw the AI in action there. And on my phone, I will go ahead and open up the Omnilert app. Okay, so here's what we call the priority alert. So this is going to your response team. So your team is going to be able to tap on that image, zoom in, see a picture of the bad guy. They can also see the location, and that's tied to the camera. And then they can decide how to respond. Once you have your Omnilert scenario set up, you can tap a button and instantly respond. So I'm going to go ahead and activate my lockdown scenario. And from here, a lot of things can happen. Right now, it's just going to send me a message to the app, send me a text message. I'm also going to get a phone call in just a second here. There we go. So many other things can happen here too, but I just chose to do that for this demo. And then this message here is kind of modeled to go to your security team or law enforcement or anybody who is responsible for responding to the incident. So you can pass on valuable information to them. So I can tap this link to see a picture, and this is in the hands of your response team, keep in mind. So they can see the same thing you saw when you validated the alert. I can see the location of the camera, where the event occurred on a map. And you can use any mapping application with this. I'm using Google Maps. And you can also see a short video of the incident. So you're not just seeing a still image, you're seeing the incident in context, about 15 seconds before and after the detection. So just imagine all this information getting in the hands of your response team or law enforcement before they come to the scene. It really is something that could prepare them well, and information that they normally wouldn't have when responding to an incident like this. So the AI is one thing. Drawing a box around a gun, we do it really well, but tying into the mass notification system kind of makes that information more meaningful. This is all about keeping people safe and protected. So given the ability to respond right away once you detect the alert is really valuable. So that's essentially Omnilert Gun Detect.
That's great, Nathan. Thank you so much for doing that for us. We did have a couple of questions come in, so I'm just going to read a few out to you and see if you could respond to the attendees' questions.
Sure.
Okay, so the first question is, does Gun Detect detect all types of guns?
Great question. So when the AI is set up, it doesn't actually record specific guns and specific types of weapons and colors and that kind of thing. It's a true AI. So it looks for something that looks like a gun. So yes, it will detect all kinds of guns, handguns, and rifles.
Okay. The next question is, can you explain to me how AI works?
Well, I'm not an engineer. That might be something that we can certainly get you in touch with one of our engineers. But the AI is a true AI. It's not something that is just looking for an image in a database. It is something that truly looks at the image in context and looks for something that looks like a gun. Number one, it looks for people. Then it looks for guns around the person, and then it looks to see if they're moving like somebody would if they're brandishing a gun, and that's what detects an alert. So that's the steps the AI goes through to detect a gun. But as far as the ins and outs of how the AI actually works, I'm an engineer. We can certainly get you in touch with somebody.
Can I add a little color there too, Nathan? So
Certainly.
my understanding is that as video feed is happening live on a customer's video surveillance cameras, that the Omnilert Gun Detect software is constantly monitoring it, looking for guns. That there is a database which allows Omnilert to continuously get smarter and smarter about how it identifies a gun and what it sees as a gun. And then when it does identify a gun, which actually at this point takes mere split seconds, it immediately triggers that alert to the organization's security team or whomever they designate. But that the video feed actually just comes through, and I'm actually looking at what the next question is. The next question is Gun Detect private? Is my video secure? So
yeah, actually that's a really good point. It's something I forgot to mention in that slide. I can actually back up here. So the AI happens locally on the network. It's a local install. All the processing and viewing of the images happens on the server on the local network. The only time it goes outside that network is on a detection event. That's when it sends the picture, the location, the video to the Omnilert cloud and sends that priority alert to your response team. So those are the images, the important images that actually get stored in the Omnilert cloud. So there's no privacy concerns. We're not constantly monitoring your streams. We're only monitoring the detection events. Then the AI it learns from all these true positives and false positives and gets better and better as it goes. So the longer it's in the environment, the better it's going to get at detecting guns in that environment. And even if it's other installs that are going on, all the update happens to all the Gun Detect installations at the same time. So you benefit from all the installs of Gun Detect out there. The more it's being used, the more it's being exercised, the better it's going to get.
Okay.
So a couple aspects of that question there.
Okay. Another question is, can Gun Detect detect holstered guns?
It will detect a gun if it's in somebody's hand. So a holstered gun, it's in the holster. It will not detect that gun unless somebody puts their hand on it. Then there's a chance it will see it. So I know a lot of security people or law enforcement officers might rest their hand on their gun. If that happens, there's a chance that it could generate a detection. But if the hand is not near the gun or on the gun, it won't generate a detection. So that's how the AI works. It is a multi-step process: people, guns, and how it's moving.
Okay. Does the system maintain the threat ID from camera to camera? Oh, okay. I think they're asking, as a person moves, does the threat detection move as it jumps from camera to camera?
Well, it doesn't track individual incidents. So if there's a detection on one camera and somebody moves into the field of view on another camera, it'll be another detection. It doesn't actually follow and keep that in a database, because that may or may not be true. There may actually be two separate incidents. So it just generates multiple detections. So you'll get the same information on each one. You'll see the picture, the location, and you'll be able to see that short video for each event. But I don't know if that answers the question, but it will not see that as a unique event and follow it from camera to camera. It's individual detections.
Okay, and then isn't it so, Nathan, that it's 12 seconds on either end of the detection incident?
Well, that video kind of gives you a pre-roll of the incident and then a post-roll. So it's roughly about 12 to 15 seconds on each side of the detection event.
Okay. Okay, so the next question is, how far away can Gun detect a weapon? And do camera settings impact those detections?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of factors involved in the whether a detection can happen or not. We've had incidents where it has detected firearms up to 80 feet away, and that's using an access camera. So of course, the quality of the camera, the resolution, the compression, the quality of the lens, lighting conditions, all these things are factors as to how you're going to get whether you're going to get a good detection or not. So when we do an installation, we want to make sure that we put the system through its paces. We want to take the entire environment into account. Make sure it learns in that environment for a couple weeks, give it some true positives and some false positives, try to trick the system, and then the AI will learn and adapt to that environment. But yes, that's a really good point. There's a lot of variables. Camera specs is definitely a factor.
So that leads to the next question. What kind of cameras do I need to use Omnilert?
Yeah, I mean, industry standard IP cameras, as long as they're ONVIF compliant, will work. The camera I'm using that you saw in my demo is a cheap $100 camera. For wider fields of view and farther out detections, you definitely want to get a better quality camera. But our main partners are Eagle Eye, Genetec, and Axis, and those are all great manufacturers to use.
Okay, so will Omnilert give false readings? If something looks gun-shaped, will it register it as a gun?
Sure. I mean, that's just that is just a fact of this technology. I will say that our false positive rate is very low. There's no way really to measure it at this point. There's no industry standard for that, but we do a really good job of rejecting false positives. But they do happen. But the good thing is the system learns from the true detections. It learns from those false positives and gets better and better.
Okay. So how do you notify local law enforcement that there is a weapon detected?
That's a good question. So it isn't something that automatically happens. Um, generally, your organization would have to discuss with them what you want done. Ask them if they want to be involved in the process, and if they do, then you have to arrange how they want to be notified, and that can be part of a scenario. It can be part of that one button activation. But it's definitely not something that's automatic. We don't. Omnilert doesn't have an agreement with every law enforcement agency in the country, so it's something that you'll have to set up locally, and your Omnilert account manager can help you set it up in your Omnilert system.
Okay. Can Gun Detect integrate with access control and lock down doors on first detection as a response?
It's possible. So we do, again, Omnilert uses industry standards. So if you want something to happen right away off of a detection, it is possible to set that up. We'll have to find some common language, common protocol with whatever application you're using. We're working on some integrations with some of the biggest systems out there, and Genetec being one of them. But it is possible to do that. Right now, it's more of a manual process to set something up like that. Right now, what I would recommend is when you get that validation alert, instead of letting a system automatically send out an alert upon a detection, you get that validation alert on your phone, the priority alert. Then you can decide the best way to respond and activate your Omnilert scenario from the app. And that's the way that we recommend you set up the system.
Okay. How does Omnilert interface to a facility's paging system for making emergency announcements?
Yeah, so I think the main way would be through voice. So this is more of a mass notification type question, but Omnilert is able to send out a voice call to your paging system, automatically enter the tones to connect to the loudspeaker, and then play a pre-recorded message. So that's one of the ways we can integrate with those systems.
Okay. Does Omnilert detect long weapons too, like a shotgun?
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, it will detect rifles and shotguns for sure.
Okay. Does the system allow for live communication between two parties?
So live communication, like, so I'm trying to think of how that could work. So like a chat, I'm assuming.
Sure, yes.
Yeah. So right now, it is possible to do that. But we're looking at integrating that type of feature into the panic button feature. So when somebody does activate their panic button and they get connected with somebody on the inside in the security team, they're able to set up a chat with that person. They're able to set up a video call. That's something that's coming. It's in development, but it's not quite there yet.
But Nate, we also have two-way communications, correct? Where we can send out a notification and then get responses back from individual end users.
So that's the engage capability, where it's not free form, because if the messages were free form, then you wouldn't be able to have that one-to-many interaction. It would be many one-to-one interactions. So with engage, you ask a question, you have predefined responses, and people could choose from those predefined responses, and then you're able to triage those messages and respond accordingly. So in engage, there isn't a free-form response, although there are other aspects of the system where you can do free-form responses and monitor them. Engage specifically allows you to interact with many people more efficiently, and not have that many-to-many type of interaction. Like I said, it's impossible to interact with hundreds or thousands of individual replies. Engage makes that easier.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like this AI technology needs a lot of incidents to work properly. We would hope to never have to use it, but but hope it works when actually needed. So sounds like, Nathan, they're asking us to talk about the learning process of.
Yeah, I mean, it works now. It's ready to go. The system detects guns and it does a great job at it. Not to say that false positives don't happen. They do, of course. They're rare, but the system will get better and better at rejecting those false positives the longer it's in an environment. But as far as detecting guns, it does a great job at that. It's very rare that it doesn't.
Okay. Okay, you said you don't keep live feeds, but if there are detections, how long do you keep the data?
That's a good question. I'll have to take that back and see if I can get that answered. I'm pretty sure it's not indefinitely. It might be about 90 days or so, but that's something we'd have to get back to you on.
Okay. I think I might have asked this one. So who gets the initial alert?
Right, so this validation alert that shows up on your phone, that could be anybody you designate. It could be one person, it could be two people, it could be a whole group of people. And they would get this message, and assuming that not all those people would be available at once, one of them would get that and see it, and then they can activate the response. Once this response is activated, it can't be clicked again. It says, it logs who responded and when. So only one person can actually respond to it. But this message can go to whoever you want to get that message, whoever you want to be the responder.
Okay. And then finally, what kind of hardware do I need for Omnilert?
Right, so for Omnilert, you don't need any hardware at all. It's a cloud-based system, but for gun detection, you need standard PC hardware with an NVIDIA GPU card. Based on your environment, the number of cameras you want to monitor, we can make a recommendation as to hardware specs, exactly what you need based on the load. And then we can make that recommendation, but we don't sell the hardware. We just make the recommendation as to what you need, and you can use any hardware manufacturer that you're comfortable with. So it's very standard hardware.
Okay, terrific. Well, we covered most of the questions, and so I think that does it for us today. So Nathan, thank you so much for giving us this demonstration. And attendees, we want to thank you so much for joining us. We will have a follow-up email going out to you. Everyone who joined the call today will receive a copy of our active shooter preparedness guide. And so look for that email in the next 24 hours or so. And we want to thank you again. Please get in touch with us if you would like to schedule time to meet. You can reach us at omnilert.com or at any of our social media sites, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook, or our email is info@omnilert.com. Again, I'm Janice Kupfer, and I want to thank you all for joining us today. Thanks very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.